Hey everyone, and welcome to our May 2021 outlook for Neovision and Neovision Awakened units. So this is the first time and probably the last time I'm doing both of them together. The reason is quite simple. It's only 4 weeks of content. 1 week is going to be a global exclusive unit, a FanFest unit, where we might not see any NVA units. So yeah, and with the recent splitting up the Noctis banner into Noctis and Ardyn and not both at once, it's fair to assume that the Zidane banner, spoiler ahead already, is going to get split up too, so that leaves us with very few NVAs this month. So let's get right into it. Let's get these out of the way right away. Kaktiria is our confirmed global exclusive fan fest or fan contest winner that we will be getting in May. There is no information given on her just yet, but yeah, it's fair to assume that she will come at the end of May, probably around the same time Heeey got released, so 20th of May or 27th of May. Either date should work. The sprite looks absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait for the animation work and the kit. So yeah, but that's all there is so far. Great work though on the sprite, and I'm very excited to see her. All right, so well, the obvious, it's Ardyn who's going to get released at some point in May. He is missing from our list that should have done or should have come with Noctis. So yeah, if you've seen Noctis, you know what Ardyn does. It's pretty much the same. Instead of light, he has dark, so his sword is a 10% dark amplification, which is, I think it's the only weapon with dark amplification. So that's pretty cool. He has Human Killer on his Super Trust Master instead of Reaper Killer that Noctis has, and he also has Dark Resistance, whereas Noctis has Light Resistance, for example. Vision card is exactly the same, but instead of dark and fire resistance that Noctis has, Ardyn has light resistance, but everything else literally the same. They are virtually the same unit even. He's a physical dark chainer in base and a dark locked dragoon in his brave shift. He also has the 25 sword imperil, so yeah, it's surprising to me that they actually split up the banner when these units are so comparable. So how good is he? Well, 25 sword imperil, he has still a superb STMR. We can suggest or we can expect Gumi to buff him to the same level they did Noctis, so he is going to reach absurd amount of attack, he's going to do a lot of damage. And he also has a cool killer type, which is Fairy. We always need more Fairy killers. It's 150 buff, just like Noctis has Reaper. The cool thing about Ardyn is that he can disease enemies on one of his abilities. The bad things, just with Noctis, the killer is locked to the base form. It's only a 25% dark amp, where Noctis has 20 light amp, and he doesn't really want his own Trust Master unless you cannot shift into his Brave Shift. Say Marlboro is a good example. I couldn't Brave Shift Noctis against Marlboro because of Resistance Tetris. So in that case, his TMR is worth it, but other than that, probably not too good on himself as he has the higher dark amp anyway. But the Trustmaster is very good for all other units that don't have an innate dark amplification. And I don't think we have an AoE dark amp just yet. I'm drawing a blank on units that might dark amp for the party. So if there is one, let me know, but I don't think we have one. Oh, there is Venera. Venera obviously buffs everyone with dark. There we go. So I don't think the TMR is worth it because it is at 10%, and with Venera out of the way, we have an AoE dark amp anyway. So should you pull, if you skip Noctis, you can, but keep in mind that Dragoons will probably fade out of the meta rather soon. I would believe that the May Dark Visions is going to be the last one. We're going to see Dragoons actually used as finishers. Other than that, you will probably use either Noctis or Ardyn for the Sword Imperil, but that's about it. Because we're gonna get Zidane, we're gonna get Sephiroth, Tifa, etc., and they will fade out all the Dragoons with ease. One cool thing about Ardyn is though is the synergy with Venera. Both are dark. Venera amps dark. She imperils dark very highly. So yeah, great synergy. He might actually be even a better pick than Noctis just because of the synergy with Venera. But we'll have to see. He's a superb unit nonetheless, and an essential part in a meme team of 6 Dragoons too. And just like Noctis, he bursts faster than King Edgar and requires far less preparation. And yeah, again, I want to stress this. I stressed this already in last month's video. Noctis and Ardyn, they are like for like, and it doesn't matter which one you get. The only difference is element and minor utility. Okay. And together with Ardyn, we are getting Aranea's base form. She's a Dragoon. She doesn't get the 6x cap, sadly, so she's still a true double hand unit, making her rather But she has an interesting thing about her, and that is in her Brave Shift, where she can, where she gains, no, where she will enable a field effect for one ally, and that field effect should be 25% attack power on top of everything else, which is quite cool, but you will most likely use her only in a 6 Dragoons meme team. And then we talked about her last month, so for all the units that I've talked about more than once already, I'm just gonna go very quickly through them so we don't prolong this video unnecessarily. And here comes the Elric brothers. It's the third time I'm covering them, and me personally, I think they're entirely skipped. And I'm not gonna go through them a third time. I feel like this is stretching already. So yeah, Demon Killer, Trustmaster, a decent or pretty good, I should say, accessory with a lot of resistances. They got a decent vision card with 50 LB for themselves. They do quite a lot of things, but yeah, I believe they are skipped entirely. So yeah, how good are they? They've got a good Trustmaster, very good Trustmaster, a superb Super Trustmaster for Dark Visions. They are flexible for elements. They also amplify the elements they buff and imbue. But yeah, the vision card, I still not feel the vision card. It's still bad. I feel like they imperil themselves when they imbue the party, although it should be okay. They only have 50% innate LB, a super high cost at 50 crystals. And yeah, their damage has fallen off significantly. They've been skipped for 2 months now. They will need serious buffs to be considered even worth pulling at this point, unless you are a huge fan of FMA, that is, or obviously. So should you pull? I mean, they are still a strong tag LB finisher, mind you. They do have good sustained damage, but slightly below Axter and Cleom. And if you noticed, we had Axter and Cleom for quite a while now. And in absolute terms, they've fallen behind entirely already, and they will need serious buffs to be worth pulling for. They're not even close to Noctis already. I believe they're 1/3 of the damage that Noctis can deal, and that begs the question, why should you use them? I mean, me personally, I'm not gonna even use last gen anymore, and last gen is very comparable in burst damage to the Elric brothers. So if the Elric brothers deal just a little bit more damage than last gen, why should I use the Elric brothers? Hell, why should I even pull for them? There's no reason to, from my point of view, anymore, unless they get significant buffs to them, like at least 150 innate LB damage would help, or upping their LB modifier. They're gonna need some serious buffs. I believe they should buff the LB modifier to 200 to make them even worth maybe considering for someone who is not into FMA, that is. All right, next up, NV King Bradley. I want to stress though, we do have a King Bradley on the global server, so how they are gonna treat him is up for debate, and maybe it's the reason why we're never going to see FMA collab, because they don't have any idea what to do with King Bradley. But yeah, he is a physical tank with human killers in base, shift form, LB finisher. Same card. He's got a sword as a super trust master with 30% evasion and 180 attack, which is still pretty good, I'd say. And an accessory at 48 attack, 100 blind resistance, and 50% if wearing a sword. So it's a good combination. So how good is he? He's got a good TMR, very nice super trust master for evasion tanks. He has 90% physical and general mitigation, 3 uses per battle, that only lasts 1 turn. But we've seen with Behemoth, Behemoth has something very similar, but it's only once per battle. And that is too bad. So King Edgar is in the same vein, but he at least has 3 charges of this. King Edgar also has a perfect dispel, but only 3 uses per battle. And we're gonna see a unit in just a few minutes who has the same thing, but with no restriction. So yeah, the bad thing about NVA King Bradley is that he's weaker than NVA Reagan in sustained damage. That should tell you the whole story. And in terms of burst, he's also barely stronger than NVA Reagan. So yeah, nothing too fancy. So should you pull? Nope, you shouldn't. He isn't worth the lapis unless you're a huge fan of FMA and like the character. But all in all, he isn't that good. He isn't that good. We're also gonna get Roy Mustang as an NVA unit. He is a magic DPS, as you can see, specialized on fire. His LB gets upgraded quite to a significant amount with 120 imperils, 95x modifier, gains a little bit of static magic and 100 LB damage to boot, which is what he actually needs. And he also gains a cool Grandis for 30% fire, making him a little bit better. Okay. That is not... Wait. I went the wrong way, sorry. And his Brave Shift, pretty much the same thing. It's just high modifiers. He does have a pretty high modifier on his LB at 140x. But the cost is immense. It's 100 LB crystals, so keep that in mind. But yeah, he should be a half decent NVA for NVA standards LB finisher. All right, and here comes the first actual new unit of this month. Well, Kaktiria is also one, but she's probably after Zidane. So Neovision Zidane, our Swiss Army knife of DPS. His Trustmaster is a cloth piece at 45 attack, 15 defense, 15 spirit. It also provides 30% physical evasion, and what's very sweet is 500 static attack. But the 500 static attack only applied to all the Zidane variants we had. So Rakashvif Zidane, Pluto Zidane, or whatever his name is. So all the Zidanes we've gotten so far get the 500 static attack. But honestly, this is best on himself. His Super Trust Master is the kicker here. It is an auto buff. You need to cast this on turn 1. And it will auto cast on each subsequent turn. And on the 5th auto cast turn, meaning on turn 5, this reaches 300 attack, defense, spirit, and magic, and 300 limit burst damage increase for all party members. It is 1 turn only, but this is what you want. So you're gonna put Zidane in, you're gonna use his STMR on himself, you're gonna buff that on turn 1, and who cares if it gets dispelled on turn 4 in Dark Visions? On turn 5, you will have 300 attack, defense, spirit, magic, and 300 LB damage ready to go. Who wants more? And this is why Dragoons will also fade out of the meta, because at 300 LB damage increase, you don't want to use Dragoons anymore. You want LB Cappers. This is a huge buff to units such as Ibarra. Ibarra especially profits so much from this, but also units such as Last Gen, they also gain a lot of this. Every unit pretty much that does not have a 200 or more LB damage increase in their kit is going to skyrocket in damage all of a sudden, and most notably Ibarra. Okay, his vision card is also pretty sweet. It's a 110 attack vision card at level 10. He also gains, or the wearer of this vision card gains 80% attack if they are wearing a dagger. And Final Fantasy IX units only also gain 50% LB damage. So Zidane in his base form is a buffer, in his shift form an LB finisher. he chains SR only in base and shift alike. So how good is Zidane? As you can see, the bad list is very short compared to the good side of things. So he's got a very good TMR. He deals absurd amount of damage. His STMR provides amazing utility, like I explained. Zidane also has a perfect dispel on demand in his kit. You can just spam it whenever you like, which is huge for any kind of content. He's got a 130 fire and wind imperil on demand to all enemies, which is, I don't know, he's a Swiss Army knife, literally. He's got it all. And what's more is he's got a 150 avian killer for all party members on a cooldown. Sweet. One of the upcoming final bosses is avian in Dark Visions. I believe it's even the next one. So that is going to come in very handily. And he's also got a 250 LB increase for all allies on his own limit burst in base form, which is, if you cannot get his Super Trust Master, his LB in base is almost equally as good, which makes this, I don't know, but he's a busted unit. He's pretty much as busted as Luna Freya was, or is for us right now, and he's gonna be very, very good. The only bad thing from my point of view about Zidane is that you need to LB twice to get his LB modification to the max. So on the third limit burst you cast, you got the, I believe, 290 LB modifier. But once you get there, he's gonna hit very, very hard. So yeah, should you pull? Yes. He, like I just said, he's a Swiss Army knife doing everything while being absurdly efficient himself. He either provides 250 LB increase to the whole party or 300 LB via his STMR. It's just too good not to have. He is also the next spike in damage done after Noctis for physical damage dealers. So if you want that ever so high increase in damage for, say, Dark Visions, you should get him. Like I also just mentioned, he provides 130 fire wind imperils, which is awesome. This frees up one action for Ferris. Especially Ferris teams do, they get more efficient and quicker because Zidane can take care of the wind imperil, meaning Ferris can limit burst one turn sooner than she usually would, which makes this quite nice. And well, if you need Mirage, Zidane got that too. He can, on demand, buff one stack Mirage to the party. So all in all, he's very slot efficient, and you guys should get him. I will get him. And with Zidane or Vivi, Vivi is also on the banner, but I believe they will release Beatrix together with Zidane. And Beatrix, she is our next magical tank, and she's really good. Now, the new things she gains in base, they are really not worth mentioning. She gains a triple cast and a dual cast. But yeah, it's, I mean, her new limit burst is quite okay. But it's all about her brave shift, where she is becoming a super, super strong magical tank. As you can see, 85 general mitigation, 2 turns, 5k barrier on a spammable ability. That is pretty sweet. She also has 65 to 80 magic cover, so on average, this should be, let me just quickly math this one out. 80 plus 65 divided by 2 is 72.5 cover mitigation, magic cover mitigation. That's pretty nice. She's generally speaking very good, and she can reach super, super high SPR numbers, way higher than FaZe ever could, for example. So yeah, you should get her. NBA, and if I'm not totally mistaken, on the JP server, she was the free unit, so we might also get her for free to EX plus 0 or EX plus 1, which is quite nice. And if you don't have FaZe, don't be sad, because Beatrix is coming and she's really, really good. Okay, and we are almost at the end, so here's my release prediction for this month. I believe that we're gonna get Ardyn on May 6th. We are also probably getting FMA the week after that. We just got news today that UOC tickets are coming on May 13th and May 20th. So either Zidane is on May 13th and Kaktiria on May 20th. But we've seen in the past that if there ever was a collab, Gumi liked to give us a UOC ticket with that. So maybe you are gonna get FMA, but I still believe they are entirely skipped. On my 20th, I'm expecting Zidane, and at the end of the month, Kaktiria, just like we saw this month with King Heeey. And yes, if you're wondering where's Corail or the story event, there is no story event. Because at the time where we are at right now on the global server, JP had the Ibarra story event. Global already had Ibarra, so it makes sense to skip this month's story event. However, I do see a possibility that Kaktiria is on May 20th, Zidane on May 13th, and FMA is entirely skipped. And that would imply that we are going to see a story event on May 27th. This is a possibility, and if that were to happen, FMA is 100% skipped at this point. There's no point in releasing them going forward because we have the Trials of Mana collab coming up, and that one was kind of confirmed in the US online meetup last week. So if FMA is not released in May, they will never get released. Hands down. And this is actually the last time I'm covering FMA, because if they're not released in May, it's goodbye FMA. Because June will certainly see the release of Hawkeye, because that one was kind of confirmed in the US online meetup last week. So yeah, that is my prediction. I'd like to listen to or read yours. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Have a nice weekend, or rest of the weekend, I should say. And we'll see each other probably Thursday for whatever is to come. Bye bye.